The great ones, they're different. They really are. Not better, just different. Sure, there's a physical power, a mental strength, a complex but resolute constitution too. There's a whole lot more than just the measurables. That's something else, that intangible. It separates us from them. Welcome to the Legends series on Andy Raymond Unfiltered. Perception, reality and the blurring of the lines. This one is not what you may think. Behind a professional mask, a gentleman, a softie, a beauty. But who is Mark O'Mealy?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I don't think I've ever been asked that. Probably a humble, person with competitive spirit and family man who's very loyal towards his friends.
Were you a good kid or were you a naughty kid? A wild one from the start, maybe?
Yeah, always in trouble. I think I had some flaws as a young kid. I used to smash up Dad's cars when I was about 6, 7 and set my bedroom on fire, all that sort of stuff you do in the country. But little things like that. But I think when I went to school, I sort of mellowed out.
4 clubs in total in Australia anyway, the North Sydney Bears, the Northern Eagles, the Canterbury-Bankstown Bulldogs and the Sydney Roosters. Looking back, which do you consider your club?
Look, it's so hard. Obviously, I spent a lot of time at the Dogs and a lot of success. But I built relationships at every club. And to me, I believe, you leave your fingerprint and a bit of yourself at each club each time. Hindsight would have been great if North Sydney were around. I wanted to be a one club, one player. They gave me the opportunity as a kid. Wayne Lampkin, Dave Warwick picked me up in a schoolboy game. I would have bled for that club if it was still around. Tried through the merger in Northern Eagles, but unfortunately it didn't flourish to the ability it could have.
You debuted for the North Sydney Bears as an 18-year-old front rower. Tell us about your first game. Daunting, or didn't you give a fuck?
We played West at Parramatta. That was my official NRL debut. I come off the bench. It was unlimited interchange. It was just rip and tear and go as hard as you could. So
and then off again?
Off again. Yeah. And I was 17 actually. So
were you really?
Yeah.
It's unusual, isn't it, when you look at these kids in this era? It doesn't happen a lot, especially in that position.
Oh, well, we've got now things in place to protect our kids. Obviously with concussion and body shapes and professionalism that these kids are getting exposed to. We have to have that in place. Back in 99 and 96 when I started at North Sydney and Harold Matts, it was more about coming through and playing. If you're good enough, you played. Where now we need to have these measures in place to protect our younger generation.
Are you glad you were part of your generation?
Oh, look, it suited me, yeah. It suited me. I wish I was 10 years earlier. But the game probably started changing in 2008, and in that 2008 block, it probably filtered my style of rugby league out. I had to reinvent myself a few times through my career, through rule changes, etc. But then the game sort of looked like it swung back about 2012 and started to flourish. Last year's football was really good to watch. I think that would have suited my style as well. 201
games in an 11-year career, but at the start, your teammates at the Bears, guys like Gary Larson, Dave Fairley, Billy Moore, Paul Stringer, Adam Muir. Was there one guy that took you under their wing, helped you, coached you about football and about being a good bloke?
I was, Dad's one of the youngest of 13, so I had a lot of family. I had a lot of good influences there of training, and they had a lot of boxing background. So it was a good way to learn how to, work hard, train, achieve. I had, guys at the club that helped me a lot, like Wayne Lampkin, every opportunity and helped and developed me and brought me through. But with the players, Josh Stewart was probably one who helped me the most. Josh always took me under his wing. I remember we had an elite players program that North's put together, and we went out in an army camp at Singleton, and they dropped us off 18 k's out of town. And I was a young, big, raw kid, and they said, off you go. And Josh was driving the bus. They give us backpacks and let us go 30 seconds apart. There was wheelbarrows dropped off. There was water, tyres. I picked up everything, took it, got back to camp and got sent back to pick up the rest of the team. It was a team-building exercise. So Josh always took me under his wing and said to me and looked after me, which I really appreciate.
Very similar to Josh Stewart. Do you see the similarities? Not just as a footballer, as a bloke.
Look, Josh was just always good to me. I had a kid at 16, so the older guys always sort of seen that I had some drive there and I had a purpose, and they tried to help me as much as I could. Adam Muir, because we lived on the Central Coast, I'd travel with Adam Muir, Jamie Goddard and Paul Stringer, so we had a pretty good connection there with them guys as well.
It was the final year of the Bears' existence. You said you would have loved to have been a one-club man. How much did it hurt, a club folding like that and the way it did? Or as a player and a young bloke, do you realise it's just business?
I didn't at that stage. Obviously, as you get older, realise it's a business. It was very, very hard to swallow as a kid. They'd relocated to the Central Coast. We had a great facility, new stadium, it was set up, ready to go. As you can see, there's been a lot of good Central Coast products that have come out. And, just unfortunately, there's no corporate market in the Central Coast for North Sydney.
How difficult was the Northern Eagles experience or experiment? Great that they were partially based on the Central Coast, but it was an uneasy marriage between two clubs and a fan base.
Yeah, look, we were selling out crowds at Gosford and Brookie. I thought we went really well. Obviously, there was some board issues up top, but as a player, you don't know what's going on up top. You don't know what agendas different board members or etc. have. You just keep your head down, train hard, play hard. We had a good leader in Peter Sharp. I thought Sharpie was really good and really sort of mellowed me out a lot. I was always 100 miles per hour. He done a lot of work with me about easing into games and settling down and picking and choosing your moments when you could turn and tempo and change the flow of a game.
You mentioned you're a million miles now. You mentioned the family link with boxing. Tell us a little bit about your early memories of boxing and what you did as a kid.
Just grew up, like I said, had a lot of family members. We all always stuck together, always hanging out with older guys and that. Mate, lots of boxing training. Always went and watched my cousins fight, etc. And I was probably a different body shape. I was a throwback from my mum's side, so I think the old feather and lightweight didn't suit as much. But it really taught me some good mental toughness and resilience.
It was something, and I'm older than you, but boxing was something that almost every boy did at some stage at the PCYC back in the day. It's a shame that doesn't exist because it's a wonderful grounding for a young man, not in boxing, but just in becoming a better young man. Yeah,
and heavyweight was unbelievable. Everyone would go watch Holyfield Tyson.
Yeah.
Boxing was a massive thing. So, we had at Lake Haven Rec Centre, we had a boxing gym there, so everyone was there.
Yep.
Where, you're right, everything sort of filtered back a little bit. And it made you, it grounded you, kept you more humble.
Why Canterbury in 2002?
Why Canterbury?
Business decision?
Northern Eagles went insolvent at that stage and obviously I've become a free agent. I nearly went to the Roosters in 2000 and I put a block on me going there when they merged.
Yep.
Went to Canterbury. I didn't know I'd signed at Canterbury until I walked out to my car. So not many people know this. I sat down with Barry Nelson and Bobby Hagan and had me meeting, and I'd been to Melbourne, I'd been to Cowboys, I'd been to a few other clubs, I'd met with Roosters again, and I'd walked outside and when we were leaving, Bobby Hagan shook my hand and thought nothing of it. A country boy, used to shaking hands, etc. And I walked out and the manager Wayne Beavis goes, "Mate, congratulations, you just signed a 3-year deal at the Bulldogs." I said to him, "What do you mean?" He said, "You shook his hand, mate, and that's how it works at the Dogs. When you shake someone's hand, you've agreed to a contract. Mate, you can't renege on a contract." So I couldn't tell the wife for 2 weeks.
Wow.
I didn't know what to do, and then it started coming out the paper, so I had to tell her. But it was a bit surprising. A bit, yeah. I was young. I was like 19. Didn't know no better, but it was the best thing that ever happened.
Any elite athlete will tell you it takes more than just being physically fit to be at your best. And our friends at Galaxy Finance can have you at the top of your financial game. From home loans to investments and self-managed super funds, they provide complete solutions. Call Galaxy Finance on 1300 91 7740 and mention you heard it on Andy Raymond Unfiltered to get an obligation-free chat to see how Galaxy Finance can assist you. Canterbury-02, an amazing group of players, an amazing team, but a salary cap breach that saw the club deducted 37 competition points. Basically, they were disqualified for the year. How tough a year was 2002?
Look, it was the toughest off-season I've ever done.
I
was driving from the Central Coast to Belmore, and I'd pull up on a Saturday morning and just sit in the car and fall asleep. So it was a long week, long pre-season. We didn't touch footballs until after Christmas. It was just conditioning, and triathlons, ride runs, swimming, etc. So it was really, really tough off-season. And then when the season started, it was unbelievable. We had one game when we were drawing Penrith, actually, and we scored in the last minute. Braith Nasta did to win that and continue that roll on. But look, the salary cap issues, I didn't know as a player. I had no idea. As I say to everyone, I sign a contract that's private, that's my personal life. I don't go around asking and seeing what other players are on.
Yep.
Obviously, there was issues with the board and how they manage their money or how they manipulated their cap. But it weren't the players' fault. Or
it falls back on the players, though, doesn't it? You guys become wrongly the face of what is termed a salary cap scandal. Yet you're on the front page of the newspaper. You're the lead story on the television news. Yet the guys with the calculators sitting behind the desk that manipulated and did all the work, they largely go unrecognised. It's actually quite unfair how the focus ends up on the players, and those that had a role in it are unaffected.
Yeah, we had to go into lockdown, train. I remember we were playing a charity golf day and it broke that morning, and we're there and we're about to tee off, shotgun start, and folks, he dragged us in and told us on the golf course, and everyone was speechless. We had this amazing year, won 17 straight, and then we went down to Canberra and got beat that week. It was very, very hectic sort of time in your career. So in my first 4 years, I had two clubs that went bankrupt and a club that got done for salary cap. So it was a great start to my NRL career.
Geez, you must have been on some money, Yoga.
Not me, mate. I think it was all back-ended players.
Speaking of Ogre, we can't, I don't think, go any further in the interview. Where did the nickname come from? Who started it and why?
I can't remember precisely who it was, but we're at Gosford, we're at Norse, and we're training out at the gym there, and I was sweating. I'm known as I sweat a lot, perspirate a lot. So back then you didn't have towels at the gym or whatever. And I remember it was either Jamie Goddard, Adam Muir, said, "You're like a big sweaty ogre," and it just stuck. So that's how it come about, and then it stuck. But I don't mind. It's grown on me.
Rubbing Denker rub on your bald head prior to a game, fact or fiction? And if it's true, where did it start and what's the story?
It's fact. I used to rub Vicks on my head. I seen me pop doing it when I was a kid, and the boxers used to rub Vaseline over their eyes, etc. And used to try and get ready, really fired up for a game. So I used to start the game slow and that in Harold Matts, like 10, 12 minutes before I sort of got going. And I'd try and rub Vicks over my head to get going. And one day there was no Vicks in the shed, so I went, what the hell am I going to use? What have I got in? I found a bit of Metzl and some deep heat there, and I just rubbed it around. I don't rub it on the top of my skull. I just rub it all on my jawline, and sort of gets you going. It's like a trigger. You become very, very reliant on routine and it become a trigger. That was bang, I'm about to head out the tunnel, I'm ready to go.
It's game time.
Yep.
Yeah. What was the best or funniest reaction to a player watching you do this?
Mate, I was that focused, I didn't take any notice.
No.
But I remember at Northern Eagles, Beavers tried it once, thought it was funny. I remember Ben Walker, there was a few players that started trying to do it and had a look at it. I think I read last year Zane Tinavano was doing it at Panthers, and I played with Zane at Warringah. So, I tried to just keep it to myself. It was after warm-up, just when I was about to go out in the field, go in front of the mirror, rub it all along the side of my face, along my jawline, and off I'd go.
Is a 17, 18, 19-year-old front rower with Vicks on their jaw and a boxing background a target for older players, older front rowers?
I don't know. I think I was more out there trying to take it to everyone.
Yeah.
So, my role was to set a platform and bust open their middle and get my boys to follow me. So for me, I didn't want to sit back and wait in the game. I wanted to start the game and take the game to the opposition and so they could sit with you. Like in scrums, players would try and talk to you, I just stare at them. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to my own teammates, but not you. I brought in rules at the Dogs, we're not talking to opponents in the tunnel.
Yep.
Why are we going to sit there and talk to the opponent? You're about to go to battle with them. Ignore them. I wouldn't talk to players a week coming in. I just would not talk to any of my mates. They'd be ringing me, knew me what I was like, and I wouldn't talk to them because I had a job to do.
Yeah.
My job was to get out there and lead.
Did you the week prior to a game circle names in the big league program?
But I used to just look and I'd see who was going well, or I'd see someone doing something on the field and go, if that happens to me, I'll sort him straight out, or, this is his weakness, I'm going to go straight at him, or this guy's getting a bit ahead of himself. So I'd always look, and around Origin time, that's what everyone wants to do, play Origin.
Yeah.
You'd look at your opponents or look who they're talking up and go, well, see if they can handle it and match it with us.
To be the best footballer you could be, did you have to, I guess, make it personal without making it nasty?
Yeah, look, I made it personal, and I had to, and a few players I abused on the field and went after, and I'd watch them shit themselves and go to water and then be ringing you after. What was wrong with that? What's wrong with it? And I said, mate, leave it on the field.
Yeah.
That, like I said, that was my job. I was out there to lead and be the best player. I wanted to be the best front row in the game and did everything I could to do that.
I heard many times over the years, and keep in mind I've known you since prior to your debut, that you hated the media. You were hard to deal with. You were moody. You'd been intimidating. I never experienced any of that. I always just thought you were the crazy ball bloke who did whatever he needed to do on the field to be the best version of himself, but off the field, an absolute gentleman that was polite, respectful, engaging, and actually a pleasure to be around.
Yeah, that's how I see myself. I hope that's how I am. Yeah. Look, I didn't think I was hard to deal with the media. If you burnt me in the media, yeah, obviously I don't want to talk to you and deal with you. But I always tried to keep a good relationship and an open line and always try to be as honest as I can and to my recollection of what happened or what the issues or questions were. But I didn't think I had an issue with media. Always reserved, didn't like the limelight. I just wanted to do my job and get on with it. But that might be that arrogant sort of side, if you could probably put it to that way, where you sort of wanted to stay reserved and just keep grounded. I didn't like the media building players up or my teammates up and then watch me players get a big head and then their form would drop. So, I'd try and keep grounded because I didn't want to do that.
We've both seen guys, and many of them over the years, that haven't been able to remain grounded. And when you are talked up and you are playing good football, you do change. It's fact, it's proof. We've seen it over the years. I'm not going to mention names, but a lot of players, in fact, I'll go as far as saying a high percentage of players, when they start believing the bullshit, they change as a bloke. Someone brings them back down to earth and they return to the guy that we knew.
And that's when you were talking about personal. If someone was in my position and they were getting attention or getting a bit of bullshit about themselves, then I'd go and that's what I thrived off. And I used to like it and, talk down or saying his form's down, etc. Start of the year, I'd be that nervous before games. I wouldn't talk to anyone. I was that superstitious. I ate the same food, wore the same clothes, same Speedos, same socks, boots every day. Everything was like clockwork. And then about 6 rounds in, you're playing well, your confidence is up, you're on fire. And next minute you start getting a bit cheeky. Then the next minute you get pulled back in the line, then off you go again.
Yep.
But, look, and then I'd try and, as I got older, I could read the room. If we were really quiet and worried, I'd try and be loud to the boys and talk to them and make it a bit fun. But what I am at training and who I am around the players, a complete different person who I am at home. At home, I just get on with my stuff. Off I go at training, I try and be that ball of energy, try and be the best team person I can for the team.
We hope you're enjoying Mark O'Mealy behind the mask. In episode 2, the famous fights, Crocker, Webb, Gibbs and more, and the realisation that the human body can only take so much. Welcome back to Andy Raymond Unfiltered, the Mark O'Mealy story. In episode 1, we talked about his debut, the North Sydney Bears and the Northern Eagles, and a boy establishing a reputation in a man's game. The story continues. Back to footy, 04. Was it the best year of your professional life? Premiership with the Bulldogs, you played Origin again, you debuted for Australia. What a wonderful year.
Yeah, it was. Looking at it, it seemed to be every second year I had really good years. So 04 was really good year for me. I think the only thing I lost was the City Country game.
Yep.
At Gosford, but mate, very lucky. We went into Origin camp that year with Phil Gould. I still remember it. He started talking to us about defensive systems, and there was 4 or 5 Dogs players in there, and started talking to us about different points and fields and splitting and advantages here and there, what you can do. And we took that back to clubland, and that drive through. It also helped. We had guys coming through like Royce Tassi, Sonny Bill Williams, Jonathan Thurston, Nate Miles, a couple of them young kids. But that was through the development of them kids. They were still establishing themselves.
You beat the Chooks 16-13 in that grand final. What stands out from the day?
Can't really remember it. The hardest game I ever played in my life was the week before versus Penrith.
Okay.
It was the only time I've never nearly give up in a game where I was struggling. We'd lost Pricey and Royce Tassi in the game.
Yep.
We had no middle left. And, that was when they had Nalaval, Pulatua, Martin Lang.
Yeah.
They were just going at full steam ahead at you. Pritis was on fire. They were just India. And we we were really struggling. And I'm looking around looking at the sideline. And to me, that's an indication when the players look at the sideline, they're about to give up.
Yep.
And Corey Hughes just rode me, just got up me. He said, "We need you, mate. We need you to lead this team." And just rode me. And I remember Matt Utai, we cracked on the left edge and we got through there. And then they all come over, pat me on the head, saying, "That's you. You've been working your ass off. That was you." Then Rennie scored on the right-hand side, went through to the grand final. But that was the most taxing, toughest game, only game I've ever felt like giving up.
You on one side, Michael Crocker on the other side in that grand final. But it wasn't just that grand final. It's a rivalry that wouldn't go away. Where did it start?
When I was at Northern Eagles, they were talking to me about playing Origin, and we played Roosters. I think it might have been a Friday night. And I cleaned him out off the ball, and I got a week for it. It's high. Not for cleaning him out, but it's high. And that sort of pushed me back, and then I broke my ankle and missed. So straight away, I sort of took it personal.
Yeah.
Croc was actually good. He remember the manager got him to write a thing to say that there was no intent in it, but I still took the week. And then after that, I just sort of respected him and thought, well, I'm gonna every time we play, I'm gonna test him out the best I can. That Adrian Morley as well, so that a pretty tough pack. You're trying to not intimidate, but try and get the better of.
The origin fight between you and Croc, I spoke to him about it on an earlier episode, and we sort of came to the conclusion it was simply two alpha males when there's only room for one. They were doing what they had to do and what they needed to do.
I had a job. They were to put bombs up. My job was to kick chase and hit Matty Bowen as hard as I could, or Reece Wesser, and don't let any bullshit get in the way. And Croc got in and pushed around, so it was my opportunity. A smart play. Once they get an opportunity, you take it.
Yeah,
you know you're only going to get a slap on the wrist and off you go. So, mate, it wasn't a great fight.
No.
I think we both threw a few handbags, but yeah, mate, it was a good moment in Origin.
We've heard Croc's story about the nightclub after the Origin fight. Love your version of events.
I think it's probably 70% true. But, but yeah, it was. Mate, that's what Origin's about. That's how I was raised. I was raised to get out there and force, intimidate, and take no bullshit. So, the missus was the same.
Okay, so we've spoken about you and Croc, but probably not the best Origin fight you've been in. Anyone that saw it remembers, let's say under 16s or under 17s, you and Carl Webb. Tell us the story.
Went down to the Old Lang Park. Hadn't played, couldn't make any school rep footy or anything, and got called in New South Wales, and the coach was telling me to watch their other front rower. It was Golden Glove, and I'm going, what's his name? And they're going, Carl Webb, and talking about him, and I knew I'd only just got to Norths, Big Smoke, etc. And I just went, well, which player is he? So I ran at him and bumped him off, and as he landed, I elbowed him straight in the head, and he stood up, and I started throwing him. So Webby got me a few, I got him a few, and we always got on very well. Webby's a champion.
There's a respect there now, and you have been mates for a while, and without sounding like a dinosaur, I loved it. Like 98%, 99% of the crowd. I miss it like 95% of the crowd. You're a father now, though. You're a coach. The world is changing. Are we right to be having no stinks in rugby league?
Mate, my boys, I've never seen them have a fight, so they're 22 and 20.
Wow.
So I didn't raise my boys that way. Yep. I was raised a different way, and to take every inch.
Yep.
We didn't have much growing up, so it's a bit different back then, where, I haven't raised my boys. There's been a few times when I've seen some stuff happen to them, obviously because they're my children, but they've handled themselves well. As a player or a parent, you don't care about yourself. So what I do on the field or what I did on the field, didn't care. It was my body. I had no self-preservation. That's why the old body doesn't look too well at the moment. But when you're coaching or looking after other kids or other people's welfare, it's a concern. And with the concussions in sport, the size, the athlete, the power, it's not a good look for the game.
You've got this big, tough exterior, and I know how soft or how lovely and genuine you can be, but you just mentioned then your two sons copping it for being a footballer's son, just for having a last name. That's it.
Don't worry, I would have done it,
isn't it?
Yeah, I would have done it.
Would have you?
If I was playing kids, there's no, you enter that field, it's all gloves off. So that's how it works. But boys handle themselves well. They're mature. They're young men now. I'd love to have been them growing up. They've lived everywhere. Been to England. Yeah. They've experienced some good life experiences.
Looking back now, how easy was it for your teammates, and there were some beauties, to G you up and get you ready before a game? I can see guys like William Marshall Mason, Rennie Matua and company thinking it was actually funny to start G'ing up the ogre. Did they get you plenty of times?
Yeah, I got wound up a few times, but it benefited the team anyway.
Yeah.
it was weird. It was at a stage you felt so powerful on the field that you could influence the game and control the game, and that's how the game was played then. Look, Nate Miles got me the best, and a lot of people know this story, but I'm in the sheds, earphones on, got me stereo head on. I used to get in 2 hours before the game, and Nate walks in and goes, "Ogre, did you hear the radio coming in on Triple M?" I said, "No, what was it?" He goes, "Mate, I said Bryce Gibbs on the radio talking up that he's taken your Origin jumper and that you've been a has-been and you're struggling and your form's been poor and you played reserve grade last week." And I did. I played reserve grade the week before because I turned up to training, not professional. I had a cork and I'd been drinking, so folks, he made me the week before play reserve grade. So I had to play 80 minutes in reserve grade. So that was already in the back of my mind that, I was pretty pissed off. And there was an Anzac test match getting selected the next week. So Nate's ran with that, and I didn't let him know. I just went, "Oh, yeah, all right." And I could hear him talking, and they're all talking. I've got my earphones on, and I'm watching them. I'm trying not to pay attention, and they're pointing around to that, and I could hear Mace going, "Are you serious?" And got me. And I just sat there and went, "Well, I watched him a couple of weeks ago put it on Rolsey, and Rolsey shit himself and went to water. He elbowed Rolls in the top of the head when he's on the ground. If he does that to me, I'm going to get up and job him." And I'd already watched it, and I'd already pre-planned it, and I'd seen what he did. I used to watch every game every weekend.
Wow.
So I knew everything. I knew every cheap shot. I knew who was the grubs, who was slipping this in there and that. So as soon as he mentioned it, I went, "All right, sweet, I'll get me shot here." So early in the game, he's tackled me, elbowed me on top of the head. So I let a few go. I went, "That's a free shot.
Yeah.
Let's get him out." And then a little bit later, we got a drop out, and I think he was mouthing me a bit about being on the bench, and I'd been dropped the week before, like I said, through an in-house reach through the leadership group. And I just thought, "I'll see if you can handle this." And that was the story. And then after the game, go in the sheds, and all the boys are just laughing, going, "What about that? You just destroyed him." And they're going, "That was a joke, Oaks. He didn't even say that." So I done all the media interview, everything after, and the boys were laughing, and Nate made it up. I was saying to the media, I still remember talking to Hoops and that, going, "Mate, he shouldn't talk it up and say he's taking me Australian jumper, an Origin jumper." And boys are laughing. He didn't even say it. So then I felt sorry for him. I've seen him down Norvies a couple of times, and because he sort of slid his form there for a while, and I felt pretty bad. And he is a good fella.
Griffin Air Conditioning offers the highest quality of air conditioning sales and service across the Sydney metropolitan area, providing installation and maintenance to commercial, domestic and industrial customers. Working with this team, you'll be guaranteed the latest services, technology and developments in the industry. Visit griffinair.com.au and tell them we sent you for a cool deal. At the end of 2007, both you and Willie Mason moved to the Chooks. You on a 4-year deal, Mason on a 3-year deal. Why the move? Was it?
Oh, mate, mine was more. Nah, I took a lot of pay cuts at the Dogs, and with different boards, and it was supposed to be, given to me in contracts to come, and new boards coming and couldn't provide that money, and I just had to make a decision.
Yeah.
And I was coming to the end. Like I said, I was breaking down every second year. I'd put my body through a fair bit, running at brick walls all day. So I had to make a decision that looked after me and my family. And Folksy was great. I sat down with Folksy, spoke to a lot of respect for Folksy. He was a great mentor for a lot of us younger kids at the Dogs. And he was the same. He was saying, "Go and take it, mate. We can't match that. We can't honour, or we can't, off previous boards, we can't honour these contracts." So, and I'd nearly been to the Roosters twice before.
Yeah.
Spoke to the Roosters. Dogs were only offering me 2 years. Roosters could offer me 4. Just a lot of variables there. Freddie was coach as well. at the stage when I signed, Wayne Bennett was going to be coach, and then I had Chris Anderson, and then Freddie was coach. So a few changes in the time I'd signed there, but it was like I said, another fingerprint I got to have at a club. First year there, I think we're equal minor premiers. Yes. We bowed out in the 2 finals. I remember Belton Warriors got beat. Belton Broncos got beat. I got to leave my fingerprint there and have another challenge, another club.
2009, you only played the 10 games. Then you cut short your stay because you still had a deal for another 1 or 2. You left for the UK and Hull. You're only 28. Did you go early?
Yeah, I went early. I regretted that. I went early.
Yeah.
But I was broke. Like, my knee was busted. I've got a lot of problems with it now. Condoplasters, they couldn't really do much. Elbows, lots of injuries. And at that stage, we're trying to freshen up, trying to look after me. I was getting lots of hamstring tears, lots of back problems. Probably a bit worn out at that time. And
because
then,
of the way you played the game, you just can't keep doing that.
And I used to do stupid things like, so New Year's Day, I'd get up and go, no one's training New Year's Day. I'm doing 18K road run. Or I'm riding 50Ks. Or Chrissy Day, I'd train. The family would get the shits because I'd go and train Chrissy Day. I used to always want to do, if someone was doing extras, I was doing more. Because I want to be better than you because you're doing extras, I'm doing extra. So I just kept running myself into the ground. And I couldn't stop. It was a disease that just takes over, obsessive compulsiveness, where I just wanted to keep going. Then I had my knee done, went over to England, and we had a really good physio over there in David Joyce, who's, I think he's at GWS now at the moment, who put me back together. I was doing Pilates and that in 2003, 2002 when no one else was really doing it. I was doing yoga. I was trying to do everything because I knew I had some back problems. Got over there and we done some biomechanics and done a lot of variations of different stuff to help me core and take the pressure off me back and work on my VMOs with my knees. I went over there and went well. It was only 1 year I broke down and played half a season. But the first couple of years there, I was watching the NRL and I knew I'd left early, but I needed time to be put back together. And it wasn't fair on the Roosters that they outlaid a lot of money for a player to be there that was broken, and that's how my head works. Brian Smith tried to get me to go back there after I decided to go to Hull, and I'm honourable. I decided to go to Hull, so I was going to Hull. And it was exciting, moving to the other side of the world, and it was another point to prove. I'm broken. Everyone's ripped me off. I want to come over here. I remember the coach in England, Richard Ager, and he's at Leeds at the moment, really good friend, said to me, everyone's ripped you off, said your body's shot, it's busted. He goes, mate, we're willing to take a chance on you. So straight away, I'm going to play for him. And being honest as a coach and a person, they get the best out of you. And I had a point to prove, and I went over and I loved it in England.
With Sandy and the kids, was it a good life experience?
They were off everywhere, every week.
Yeah.
I'd be playing footy, stuck at home, and they'd be off over Easter. We'd play the 2 games, they'd go. But that was what the experience was about. I'd toured over there for Australia, and I'd played in lots of parts of the world. So for them, it was great. Like I said, I'd love to have had that childhood growing up.
You retired, then you returned to play for the local club, which I just love, the mighty Warringah. Did you see it as important to give something back directly to the local club and the local league?
At first I said no, because I finished, the last game was a Challenge Cup grand final. I beat 16-10, and I'd done my MCL for about the 6th time on my left knee, and I just said no. And I was at 9,800 kilos, so I was been training, working heaps, and I just looked at the players over here in the NRL and how it changed in 5 years, and everyone was 6'2" and 120 kilos and could run 111 seconds. So I sort of said no, and I held off, and I was sitting at my pub at Curry New Year's Eve, and I had about 2 beers, and I went, I'm going to play. they need someone. They're not affiliated to any club. So I rang Rip Taylor and said, mate, I'm going to play. And went back, played every game. One game off the GF, and we brought through players like Zaid Tedavado and that went through to play. So it was really, really good experience. It was really good for the local league. The league was humming at that stage on the Central Coast. But I was breaking down. I broke my thumb at training. Plantar fascia snapped in the last game at Leichhardt to make the GF and stuff like that. So I was breaking down. I knew I didn't have much more in me, but it was a really, really good year. Like we had some really good guys come out of there.
You actually played your last game alongside your son Nick, didn't you?
I come out of. I wouldn't say I retired. I've never retired. The next year, young bloke was playing local grade. He was on his Roosters contract, and he come back and played at local grade for Wyong. So they had New South Wales Cup and local first grade, and he was playing local first grade. So I said on one Wednesday I wouldn't mind playing a game with a young fella. So went out and played a game with him, and it was good. It was fun. I ended up playing about 3 or 4 games with him. We played in a final to make the grand final. We played Kingaroos, and it was the longest prelim, I think, in history. It went for like an hour and 118 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I remember it was just going drop, misfield goal. At one stage, I nearly just grabbed the ball and had a crap myself. But, mate, I wouldn't say I retired. I just come out and helped, and it was a lot lower level, so it was good to have a bit of fun with the young bloke.
If you've never actually retired, maybe still available in 2021?
Mate, if you see me, I'm about 126 kilos, and it's not good weight, so no.
Mark, what's your biggest regret over your career?
Not many. Got to have so many highlights. I got to play for my country, got to win State of Origins and NRL Grand Finals. But biggest, regret, we should have won more comps at the Dogs.
Yeah.
02 and then 06. 06 we were belting Broncos. We should have went on and went through the grand final and belted Melbourne. But Willie, as much as we love him and how influential he is and loud he is, he had to at half-time give big Shane Webke a mouthful up the tunnel. I think it was 24-2 or 24-4 at half-time, and Mace had to give him a spray, enjoy retirement, Webby, and got into him, and Webby went in the sheds apparently and tore strips in him and said, are you going to let that loud mouth out there beat us today? And Broncos come out. Sean Berrigan found a gear I'd never seen him have. He scored 3 tries, went under one Clive Churchill, and they won the comp. So that was a massive missed opportunity.
Oh.
And then we had to put up with Barrow and Australian Tour giving it to us for 7 weeks about how Mace lost us the grand final.
Do you remind Mace of this over the years?
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah.
But, there was a lot of things there. Mace just added fuel to the fire. There was a couple of interchange decisions, I think, because in 04 we'd lost Price in Roy and we went in lean. We had a rookie bench. Folksy tried to bring off Sonny himself, Mason, and tried to take us in there fresh to the GF, but the momentum that the Broncos had in the second half, we couldn't stop it when we got back on the field.
Here's a question. What are you most proud of, mate?
Most proud moment in the grand final. Dogs grand final 04. Most proudest moment. Playing for your state, very, it's a personal achievement.
Yep.
And it's very, honourable and something that, to me, I cherish. But proudest moment was something I achieved with a group of guys and a club and a fan base that have been through a lot of turmoil, a lot of shit over the years. To get that win, sort of like we did it, we beat us, we beat the system. So that was probably my most proudest moment.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been an amazing career, Mark O'Mealy. Thank you. You, sir, are a legend.
Thanks, Andy.
We hope you enjoyed Mark O'Mealy behind the mask. Before you go, we'd love a 5-star rating and review on the podcast app you're currently listening on. It helps spread the word as we look to expand the Unfiltered brand and bring you more. Make sure you Come back soon, legends.